MyPillow has received yet another setback in its quest to keep the election conspiracies alive, which means it's time for another episode of Pillow Talk.
God gave me this platform. I already know I'm going to win. China did our vote. Biden and Harris would say, hey, we're here to protect the country, and resign. Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't.
Just forget about the evidence. This was attacked.
Yes, the CEO of MyPillow ends 2020 basically the same way he entered 2020, by crying and complaining about the election. And of course, by spreading nonsense conspiracy theories with absolutely no evidence to back them up, because it's MyPillow after all. It's actually even gotten so ridiculous that corporations have decided to step in, actually Verizon, for example, to personally ban him and his website, FrankSpeech.com, from spamming people with conspiracy-laden text messages. Now, I am old enough to remember when text messages cost money to not only send, but also to receive. And that was a separate charge. A lot of these companies nowadays, they bundle it. So they put it all together, and therefore you don't really see like tax charges. But this, you would like have an individual charge of, I forget how much. Point being, I don't want to pay money to receive texts, especially if they come from insane people like Mike Lindell. And no, I don't even want to hear his nonsense for free. Oh, the Chinese, they stole the election. It's the Chinese, the Iranians, the Pomeranians, they all got together and they hacked the vote, even in systems that are not even connected to the internet. And I have the evidence. It's right here, except that you can't see it because I'm not going to let you see it. In fact, before I get to his video, because he also talks about the lawsuit. But first, let me show you Mike basically melting down over Verizon. Take a look.
If you haven't, by the way, if you haven't been getting text marketing or texts from any texting from FrankSpeech, and you're wondering why that you've been taken off a list, it's just because Verizon has stopped us from doing our text marketing. Just another big platform that went I don't know, south on us, went left on us. They left us, put it that way. Okay.
If you're not getting the Texases or Texas, that's because they went to the Verizon went to the left. Really? No, Verizon didn't go left. It didn't go north, south, east, or west. Verizon is a giant corporation. I can guarantee you that there are against a lot of different things that the left actually stands for. For example, paying workers fairly, sensible regulations and telecom companies, or, even paying corporate taxes. Left. No, but they've gone to the left. No, here's the issue. They're fed up with Mike Lindell because Mike Lindell is spreading nonstop lies and conspiracies. Not because they care about the truth, honestly, but because the election lies threaten their business interests. When hundreds of unhinged chuds are threatening insurrection and civil war, you know what that has? That has a destabilizing effect on the normal flow of business. And guess what? Verizon, like other businesses, wants to make sure that they have a stable environment so they can make as much money as possible. They have a literal fiduciary responsibility to amass as much wealth and extract as much wealth that they can for their shareholders. Okay, and so they don't want to be associated with this at all. Associated with FrankSpeech, associated with the big lie, conspiracy theories. Again, if MyPillow guy was just back to selling pillows, well, then that would be a different thing. They'd be totally fine with it. But since he's going out there and spreading nonsense conspiracy theories about the election, which again is riling up the chuds, well then of course They're going to be like, no, we've had it. We're not interested in this at all. No, what we're interested in is keeping the status quo. Now, remember, Verizon has done incredibly well under Joe Biden, did incredibly well under Donald Trump, did incredibly well under President Obama. And so they do great when the status quo is continued. And so that's not to defend Lindell or Trump or any of their insanity or any of that, right? Or the corporatism. I'm just saying, by the way, the right and left does have something in common, which is kind of rare, honestly. But the one thing they do share is a hatred of corporate rule. Now, for different reasons, of course. The left doesn't like corporate rule because they're essentially grounding workers into dust. Now, of course, the right's like also like, I don't like being ground into dust. Yeah, it's unpleasant when you're the one being ground into dust. But then again, when they're in the positions of power, they're like, oh yeah, grind the workers. So, but no, their big problem with corporate rule is really that for them, the corporations are just too woke. The SJW corporations, black people, appealing to them and the gays. I hate that. Now, going back to Lindell. So I told you earlier, remember that case, the Supreme Court case that was supposed to happen at Thanksgiving. I'm sorry, he was supposed to present a case to the Supreme Court, and they were going to vote 9-0. I remember hearing him say 9-0 in order to hear it, and the evidence would be so overwhelming, so mind-blowing, that they had to be like, okay, we're going to redo the election. We're just going to throw out the result. There's so much evidence here, so much voter fraud. Now, you can also recall that went absolutely nowhere. Now, that said, it's past Thanksgiving. Christmas just got over with. And so, well, what's going on with that case? Well, it turns out he's got an update.
So let's start with the Supreme Court case. That is right here. And the changes have been made. And they are they're going out this week to the AGs, and we'll get the ones that want to sign. You can right now. You can get a hold of your attorney general and say, hey, the new version that you all wanted now is ready to go. So let's get it signed. Let's get it signed timely. Let's get it in before the Supreme Court. There were some changes on there. We cannot put them up. People have asked me. We are not. This is the Attorney General's complaint. They do not want to put up yet with the changes. Let's get it signed, everybody, and let's get it to the Supreme Court when they'll get it there, and then we will put it up. And I can tell you, it's all good.
Let's sign this thing that we can't tell you what's in it. What is this, like a birthday card? No. You can actually see what's in a birthday card, or some sort of. I mean, what are they doing? Why is he doing this? Why is he still doing this? Now, the easy answer, of course, is that, well, Mike Lindell's a lunatic. Well, obviously, yes, and that is certainly one thing that is true. But alongside of that, he's still doing this long shot hope to try to. And originally the plan was, and this is what Peter Navarro had actually been revealed, or had revealed himself, that he was working with Steve Bannon on. Basically, he was trying to get the states to push to recall their electors, the people that actually vote in the Electoral College that decide who the president actually is. See, we don't have a system where the popular vote determines whether a person will become president or not. If that was the case, then Hillary Clinton would have become president in 2016. She got over 3 million more votes than Donald Trump. Joe Biden got over 7 million more votes than Donald Trump, but we don't count that. We don't count the popular vote. We have this thing where it's the Electoral College. And so the electors come from the states, they go and meet up and they do the certification. Mike Pence plays that role, but it's not even a role that has any power. It's a ceremonial. But he goes and does that. And then the certification happens, and then the inauguration happens, and that's how the system kind of works. That's how the sausage is made, so to speak. And so now, Mike Lindell and Peter Navarro, they basically wanted to throw a wrench in that. So Navarro's plan hinged on Mike Pence, whereas Lindell's plan hinges on the Supreme Court, the conservative Supreme Court, to come in and basically look at his so-called evidence, which again doesn't exist. It's not real. There's no actual evidence, and every person that's actually looked at the evidence that they had brought in these different lawsuits, they have all said the same thing. This is nonsense. There's nothing here. We can't do anything about this. And so, sorry, the election will continue to stand because you're a joke, and so is your evidence. But nonetheless, his whole goal is to try to get the Supreme Court to do what Mike Pence did. Recall the electors, throw out the results of the election, therefore thereby reinstalling Donald Trump in what would have been, in their mind, his second term, and then, with the side effect of throwing out democracy. So, obviously, it's the long shot of long shots. Now, MyPillow's the only guy stupid enough to push the long shot of long shots, which has 0% chance of working. Again, there's not even in a constitutional vehicle to allow the reinstatement or reappointment of a president of the United States, but nonetheless, that hasn't stopped Republicans from attempting to push it anyway. I mean, you can learn from Peter Navarro in his own memoir, where he had 100 members of Congress that were willing to throw out the certifications of their states, their electors, and to try to send it back to the states to have them send their own pro-Trump electors that don't give a goddamn about democracy. And that's what it is. The entire goal here is to end democracy in this country and to usher in one-party Republican rule for the end of time. Now, that is the most anti-American, and obviously the most anti-democratic thing that I've ever seen. Again, literally against democracy. But this is Mike Lindell in his own insane way of trying to push it. Now, thankfully, at this point, it's not going to succeed. But that doesn't mean they're not going to continue to keep trying. And so we actually have to take a stand here. And, especially the Democratic Party and people who believe, members of the media who think that they're the defenders of democracy. Looking at you, New York Times, or Washington Post with their democracy dies in darkness. We really need to be tougher on the people who actually are trying to overthrow the country and report the reality of the situation instead of saying, oh, you kooky Republicans. Oh, you're at it again, trying to steal an election. Oh, you. No, it's time to get tough and to lock some people up. If they're involved in actual insurrection, then yes, that's literally breaking the law. And the people in charge need to do something about it.